going to build the wall. And there's no way he's going to build the wall. And he used a horrible word when he said he's not going to build the wall. So they said to me, do you have a comment about that? And I said, yes. What is it? The wall just got 10 feet taller. True. True. And if he uses the F-bomb again, we're going to go 20 feet taller. Believe me. Believe me. So when I came down, and I came down that escalator with Melania, and we just looked and we said, it's going to be great. But I came down and I mentioned illegal immigration. And it was craziness. You remember, right? It was crazy. The world went crazy. Everything went crazy. I said, we either have a country or we don't. We either have borders or we don't. And then it turned out that I was right. And everybody started pivoting back. And even a couple of these people that I'm running against, the other day, I heard Ted Cruz say, we are going to have a wall. This is the first time I've ever heard this. And Rubio, little Rubio, he says, we are going to have a wall. They don't have a clue, folks. And you know what? As soon as the lobbyists from Mexico get a hold of them, there's not going to be a wall. Just words. All talk, no action, politicians. Believe me. All talk, no action. And in the case of Rubio, very, very weak on illegal immigration. In the case of Cruz, in all fairness, pretty weak. Not as weak, but pretty weak. And he was in favor of amnesty, and there's nothing you can do about it. We're not going to do amnesty. We're going to have our country back. We're going to take our country back. And people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. Legally. So we're going to have a strong border. And we're going to stop drugs from coming in because the drugs are pouring through that border. It's like water. They're pouring through the border. And you know, I won New Hampshire. And by the way, we just had some big victories. Nevada, right? South Carolina, right? And they were big. We won every single category in every one of the 3 states. And I'll tell you what, we won with men. We won with women. We won with geniuses. We won with less than geniuses. We won with we have won. We won with the evangelicals. I love the evangelicals. I love the evangelicals. We won with the vets and we won with the military. True. But we did. We won with the highly educated and the less than highly educated. We just won every single category. And we won by landslides. You know, the Wall Street Journal did a poll. It was a phony poll, but it sort of shook us up because it was 2 days before the election. And they came out with a poll. And in the poll, they interviewed people that are, not really representative of who's going to vote. So it was like we were only up by a very little bit. Then when the election took place, we blew them away. It was a total landslide, a total, absolute landslide. And by the way, each one got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in Nevada, we were at 46. So somebody said, now you got to remember, when you're at 45 and 46, you're running against, you have 5 people, right? 5. So you have almost half the vote. And then you have these idiots get up and say, well, he's at 45. That means 55% of the people are against him. Well, that's not really what it means. That means if somebody else would drop out, they would accumulate. And instead of Trump winning, they'd accumulate. And Trump would lose 55 to 45. What they don't understand is when they drop out, I get a lot of those votes, but they don't want to say that. They don't want to say it. For instance, when my very dear friend Jeb Bush dropped out, he dropped out. Now, he'll come by and he'll support somebody one of these days. I used to say, what Marco Rubio did to him was very disloyal because he was under Jeb and Jeb gave him some chances, etc. And they said Rubio would never run. Nobody thought he was going to run because it would be very disloyal. He ran. And Jeb would say, he is my dear, dear friend. He is my very good friend. And Marco would say, Jeb is my very good friend. They hate each other, folks. They hate each other. And yet you'll probably see Jeb support him at some point, because we know one thing. He's not supporting Trump. Do we agree? He's not supporting. Oh, boy. They did a cover story in the Wall Street Journal about that. They said, and it was very interesting, they said, Jeb Bush had everything planned. He was automatic. It was going to happen. Everything was perfect. He had the money. He had the pedigree. He had every single thing. There were just 3 words that he never thought about. Donald John Trump. It's all right. That's okay. That's all right. I think he's a very nice person. We wish him well, right? Let's go. Good luck, Jeb. We love you, Jeb. We love you. So, we're getting close. We have a very big lead. Super Tuesday is coming up. A lot of states. We're going to win. Are we going to win? Are we going to win? Got to win Tennessee. Got to win Tennessee. I'll tell you, we got to win Tennessee. If we don't win Tennessee, I'll still love you. I don't know, We will. Hey, let me tell you something. The second place person doesn't come here with crowds like this, in all fairness. You don't have crowds like Chris was telling me, the second, when you look, we looked out the plane, we said, wow, look at this. And we just had a similar thing in Arkansas. It was incredible. Big, big hangar. We had a very similar thing. But you look out and you see this crowd. This is a massive crowd, all standing up. No seats. Sorry about that, folks. Too many people. But the second place person doesn't have crowds like this. So hopefully we're going to win Tennessee. We're going to win everything. I think we're even really have a great chance to win Texas. I mean, I know we're going to win Florida. In a couple of weeks we go to Florida. Remember, Tuesday is your day. Tuesday. But I think in a couple of weeks, we go to Florida in a couple of weeks, and we're going to win Florida big league because we're, I think, 22 points up. And that'll be great. And hopefully we can run the table. I mean, just run the table. And a lot of people are saying, these pundits, these guys get paid. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. First of all, they said in June, he will never run. I ran. Then they said he will never sign for May. That's where you sign your life away. I signed. They said, wow. Then they said he will never put in his financials. And by the way, the financials are all about like what you're worth. Tax returns don't mean anything about worth, just so you understand. And you never give a tax return when you're being audited. Do you know I get audited every single year? You tell me that's fair. I have friends of mine that are rich people. They've never been audited. I say, how often do you get audited? Never. They don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm audited every year. But I filed my financials, and they were phenomenal. And believe me, if they weren't phenomenal, you would have heard about it from the press. You would have heard about it. That would have been a big, big, beautiful, fat story. And built a great company, some of the great assets of the world, very little debt, tremendous cash flow. And I say that only because that's the kind of thinking we need for our country. We owe $19 trillion. We've got to make great deals. We lose with China in trade deficit $500 billion a year. $500 billion. We lose a massive amount of money in deficit with Japan. With Mexico, we lose with everybody, just in case you had any questions. We lose all the time. We don't win. Honestly, we don't win anymore. We don't win at any level. With trade, with military, we can't beat ISIS. Can you imagine telling General George Patton we can't beat ISIS? Now, General Patton would be, and General Douglas MacArthur, they are right now spinning in their grave. They don't get it. This is a thing that knock them out in a week. They don't get it. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS, okay? We're going to knock the hell out of them. So, when I started, it was very much about the border because I knew what was going on. I have friends. And when I won New Hampshire, and by the way, I made a pledge to the people of New Hampshire, They are incredible people, and they're the one that started this thing because they gave me a tremendous victory, far greater than it was supposed to be. I mean, it was a landslide. But I talked to the people, and it was so strange because it's a beautiful state, the most beautiful trees and pastures and roadways going through these incredible settings. And yet their big problem was always heroin. I said, heroin? This just doesn't fit. You know, I could tell you places that it does fit, but I don't want to insult anybody, right? It didn't fit with New Hampshire. And I said to the people, I said, we're going to solve the problem. The drugs are pouring through the southern border. The heroin is coming through. And they have a bigger problem for whatever reason than most. We're going to stop that heroin. We're going to work on getting the addicted to be unaddicted as quickly as possible. But I made a pledge. We're going to stop that heroin from pouring in to this country, but to New Hampshire. We have an obligation to do it, and that's what we're going to do. So when I first started, I talked about the border. I talked about trade. I'm really good at trade, and I'm really good at jobs, by the way. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. That I can tell you. The greatest. That was sort of easy. When they do the polls, they do polls. And in the polls with the economy, I'm always double and triple and quadruple what others are with jobs, with the economy, with ISIS, by the way, with military, with the border. I mean, I'm not talking about like where somebody's at 20 and I'm at 22. I'm talking where they're at 9 and I'm at 70. That's a big difference. With leadership way above everybody else, way, way, way above. So every single category, and I think a lot of it morphed in to the fact that I'm the strongest on the border. Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Arizona. No games, right? You know what they call him? No Games Joe. He doesn't play games. Do we agree? This is, right? Sheriff Joe. He endorsed me last week. Now, when you know that Sheriff Joe is endorsing you, you are the toughest on the borders. There's no doubt about that. So when it began, it was about the borders. It was about trade and all of that. And then we had the attack. And it was a horrible attack all over the world. In Paris, where 130 people were killed. Many, many people dying right now in the hospital, horribly hurt. And by the way, speaking of that, I will protect your Second Amendment 100%, okay? 100%. And then we had the attack in California, the two radicalized people. They get married, they go in, and they shoot their co-workers and supposedly their friends. Something going wrong here, folks. There's some anger out there. We got to solve the problem. But I guarantee you one thing. These Syrians are not coming into our country until we find out what the hell is going on. Not coming in. And the ones that are here, I'm sorry, and I've been saying it for 3 months, they got to go. They got to go. They got to go. You know, you have that migration, and we all have a heart. And we're going to build safe zones in Syria. We're not paying for it, by the way. Don't worry about it. We'll get the Gulf states. The Gulf states are making and have made so much money. They have so much money. They're not taking any of the migration, any of the migrants. They're not taking any. They're not spending any money. And I have many friends in the Gulf states, but they're going to have to shell out. They will spend. We will supervise, get it done, but we will get the money from the Gulf states. Do you know that Saudi Arabia, before the oil came down, now they're making half, was making $1 billion. Think of this. $1 billion a day. And we protect them. We get practically nothing. Why? South Korea makes a fortune. I order thousands a year, thousands of television sets. They're all made in Samsung, LG, they're all made in South Korea. I order thousands of sets. South Korea, we have 28,000 soldiers on the line. You have the maniac in North Korea. You have the maniac. All right, get him out of here. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Unbelievable.